Oh, okay. Just take care of it.
Yeah. So I even kind of explained to her that this is the plan, and I'm not sure.
Good evening, good folks. Welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission General Session of July 26, 2022. If you'd like to address the City Commission during a public comment period, you may complete the comment form at the back of the room and submit it to our city clerk. On the form, please provide your name, home address, and the topic on which you'll be speaking. When it's your time to speak, I will acknowledge you and you'll come to the podium, provide your name, and give your remarks. Note I will not share your address publicly, nor will I ask you to announce your address before public comment. Throughout our commission meeting, let's maintain decorum and remain respectful of one another. And visitors to our meeting should refrain from making remarks from the audience and instead are welcome to sign up to give public comment at the podium when called upon. So again, comment forms back of the room, submit them to our city clerk. Before we get into our agenda, we are going to have prayer led by our Vice Mayor German, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd care to join us in either one of those, please stand and remove any hats.
Okay, let us bow our heads. Father God, thank you for allowing us to assemble here. Your word says we all have faith, and we have faith as the grain of a mustard seed. And we ask that we exercise that faith and honoring you, God. And we ask you to increase our faith, to do the work that you had called us to do, to put us in leadership positions, to make decisions for this city of Muskegon. And we ask that we lead in good faith and good decision. And when it's said and done, we can reflect on what we have been doing, and that is to lead the city, to protect the city, protect those who do not have a voice, and speak for those who do not have a voice, but to make sure that everyone is treated equally and fairly. And we ask that you look on the city and protect it, and protect the ones that are overseas and our loved ones and our children's. And we just ask that you give us knowledge and wisdom that comes from you. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Vice Mayor German.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Madam Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Gorman,
Here.
Commissioner Emery,
Here.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Here.
Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Hood, absent, Commissioner Ramsey,
Here.
Vice Mayor German.
Here.
Thank you. And before we get into the consent agenda, we have public comment. One form has been received thus far, and it's from Jamie Cross, joining us from our downtown. Welcome. Speaking on the MDNR conversion assistance request.
Felt like I was just here. Thank you, Jamie Cross, and I just wanted to make a couple comments on the conversion contract idea. I think it's great that the city's looking for a contractor that has knowledge about the conversion of lands from trust funds. I want to make sure that the public access is sustained or not increased, and our public spaces. But I also think it would be a good practice to conduct community conversations around some of the developments that have the conversions in them. To date, there really hasn't been any public presentations around Adelaide Point or Hartshorn where some of those conversions are taking place, and I think it's confusing to the community what these conversions are, what do they mean, what are the benefits. I know we've had the city commission meetings and the planning commission meetings, but trying to download documents, look at them, and 3 minutes to comment, no questions, is not exactly a community input and an engagement piece. And I know there was the Zoom meeting for Adelaide Point, and again, it was during the day, it's hard to comment, just not the perfect way to get community engagement. And also, there's a lot of talking about Fisherman's Landing and the land swap there. It kind of died down, and this kind of brings it back to the forefront, at least to it's still there. And again, the conversations around that swap, one thing, land trust it's important to know that any kind of land trust property has to be of equal or greater value. That's one of the guidelines, but also what are the benefits? Why would we consider the swap? I'm not hearing the answers to that at all in the conversations I have. So again, a conversation in the community to understand that. So just basically, what is the quality of life that it's adding to the quality of life of the people here in the community? Not just a tax benefit. What are the quality of life issues that these swaps will be doing for us here in the community? So I appreciate your work, and I'm glad you're looking for a contractor to do some of this work for you, because it's important and we must maintain our access. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Cross. I appreciate your valued perspective and important questions and points. It's the only other form I have. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on an agenda item? All right. Then moving on to consent agenda. Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the items. Are there any that you wish to have removed for separate consideration and vote? Commissioner Gorman.
Item J, please. As in joy. J.
J. Commissioner Ramsey.
Items G and K.
Any others, Commissioner? Commissioner St. Clair.
Item F.
All right. If there are no others, I would entertain a motion. Vice Mayor German.
Okay, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda minus items F, J, K, and G.
Support?
All right, we have a motion by Vice Mayor German, supported by Commissioner Ramsey, to accept the consent agenda as presented, minus items F, G, J, and K. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So we're going to start with item F, Commissioner St. Clair.
Thank you. I motion to authorize staff to solicit proposals for professional assistance on the MDNR conversion process.
Support?
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Ramsey, to authorize staff to solicit proposals for professional assistance in the Michigan Department of Natural Resources conversion process. Commissioner St. Clair.
Hi.
Oh.
I have read over this proposal, and there's a lot to it. I was just wondering if you could break it down a little for us.
Sure. It's not the normal way that we handle these, but we decided that this RFQ probably warranted enough attention to bring it here to get public input on it before we even post it, because it is, if you're not familiar with it, it is kind of a big one. The Adelaide Point and Hartshorn Village projects, as those take shape and development agreements get signed and construction starts hopefully in the near future, we are going to enter an active conversion process with DNR. DNR funds helped buy the property and build the Lakeshore Trail, and helped buy and build Hartshorn Marina property. Both of those parcels will be impacted by those projects. In particular, the Lakeshore Trail, I think, is a piece of fee-owned property by the city of Muskegon and will have to be sold to the developer and then replaced with a different piece of property that will harbor the trail. So there's a plan in place for it, but we have to work through all the DNR process and procedures for that. It's a very lengthy process. No one on city staff that's still here was here the last time we did one that was involved in it. I believe the last time was early 2000s when the city sold the golf course, which is actually the same converted funds that are involved in this transaction for the Lakeshore Trail. So they'll be converted again. Anyway, we're looking for some help, basically, from somebody that's done this, help us walk through the 6-step process with the DNR. It starts really with just identifying the parcels and the impacts and making sure we've got the right grants and the right encumbrances and everything in place, and we really understand what the acreage and what the value is of the land being impacted. Then we have to determine, is there lost land, lost value, lost not just appraised value, but recreational value. Like, what is the use of that land in the existing sense, and what is the use in the new sense? So a lot of that'll have to take shape. And like I said, we really identified those 4 parcels as the triggers for this. But one of the things that we wanted to include are a couple of things that may also require a conversion discussion in the future. One of the things that DNR will tell you is that it's easier to do a lot of conversions all at once than it is to do several smaller conversions separately. So that's why the 3rd Street Wharf and Fisherman's Landing is on there. It really gives us a chance to put that in front of DNR, let them see what those parcels are, let them determine what the appraised values are, let them, give us a preliminary feedback of what that looks like and is that an equitable trade. The third one that's on there is a DNR rail corridor that the DNR is looking to divest of their interest in, has offered to sell it to the city. Part of it contains the Laketon Trail already, and part of it is just kind of the vacant corridor that runs along Nims and Getty. It runs along Nims Street and then cuts through like Angel neighborhood up, crosses Apple, ends up at the old farmers market. So they've offered to sell that to us, which I think would make a great, potential purchase for us and maybe a future trail someday. It's like 150-foot wide right of way, and we don't need that much space to build a trail. And I'm sure somebody else will want to buy a piece of it here and there, so it makes sense to look at that. We also identified a couple of sites that we felt like if those actual, really anticipated conversions result in a net loss, we identified a couple sites that we wanted to start looking at as potential replacement value. One of them is the new railroad right-of-way that we're getting close to acquiring. That would be a good one in their eyes. Obviously, it's going to be, I think, rail banked is the term, where there's not really much that can happen on the property anyway. A lot of it's next to the trail. You could make wider, more park-like greenways along a lot of those corridors. And the other was the former farmers market site, just because a lot of it seems to not have real great potential to redevelop in a residential sense. So looking to maybe get that kind of tied up in a park under their purview. So just 2 options we identified. I think we threw some language in there about maybe a third site if something else comes up during the review, or things could change. Really, we're just looking for feedback on the RFP. If it's good, if we're happy with it, we'd post it. We'd solicit bids. We'd review them. Staff would bring back a recommendation and say, hey, we'd like to hire this person to help us with this. And we'll essentially have them get started as soon as we officially do enter a conversion. Until then, we'll just kind of hold them in the background, and that would be the whole process. It'll be a long process. It'll be the other thing I'll add. The Land and Water Conservation Fund are federal grants, so we need to get concurrence from the National Park Service in addition to DNR. So just the federal involvement, I've been told that that's going to take at least a year to work through that. And this will have some short-term implications as well. It's going to hinder any grant applications that we submit. Any grant applications that we submit for DNR programs will be automatically deducted. I believe it's 50 points on a 400-point scale. So you're very much unlikely that any of our DNR grants would be fundable during the time we're in a conversion process. So it's in our best interest to get it resolved as quickly as we can, be out in front of it, and make sure we've got it moving rather than letting it get stalled, which I think benefits us by having someone with experience on staff.
Any follow-up, Commissioner St. Clair?
No, thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioners? All right, thank you. With regard to the reference to Fisherman's Landing, that's just anticipatory, or not necessarily anticipatory, but it is to help us understand what the potential implications are of any land swap or otherwise giving up of recreational activities at that site. And so we're looking to just understand what the conversion process could require.
Correct.
For that property. There's nothing that's imminent in terms of a deal or giving up any recreational value at that site presently.
Yeah, it's the total process is a 6-step process, and I think we propose taking those 2 parcels up to step 3, which is identifying the parcel boundaries, identifying the grants, and getting a preliminary opinion from DNR on the values of those.
Okay. And then with regard to, I know you mentioned that because of, while during an active conversion process, we are knocked some points off from any applications that we have for DNR Trust grants. Do you know if any applications for, say, the Sparks Parks and Recreation grants that are becoming active this fall, and there's going to be 3 rounds of funding this fall, and then a couple more next year. Will those also be encumbered? Do we have any clarity on that, or might that be a separate category that we'd still have a good chance of?
I don't have a firm answer that it is or isn't. I would believe it would follow the same protocols as the rest of their grant programs, but I haven't heard that specifically. One thing that we can say is the Natural Resources Trust Fund and the Spark grants are 100% state administered grants. So those are, they're scored and ranked, but the Natural Resources Commission actually picks which projects they want to do. They don't necessarily draw a line and say everything that's scored above this gets funded. They can draw a line and say, oh, but I really like this project down here and I want to fund that. So those ones that are state funded, we certainly do always still have an opportunity to apply for those. It would be the land and water conservation funds that, we would likely be pretty hard pressed to score well enough to be fundable.
Okay, so we still have a good shot
Yep.
and hope to obtain additional resources for our Parks and Recreation. Okay, excellent. Thank you much, Director Evans.
Thank you.
If there's nothing
I'm gonna
else
stay
from the
right
commission, then roll call.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item G, Commissioner Ramsey.
Yes. I motion to approve the park concession policy.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Commissioner St. Clair to approve the park concession policy. Commissioner Ramsey.
Yeah, I just wanted, so today's a short meeting, and I just wanted to take time to say thank you to DPW and the Parks team for this policy and for bringing it to us and for making sure that we have ample conversation about it on the television so that our neighbors and residents and community members can understand what we're doing in their parks and how we're doing it. Thank you so much, Leo and team.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thanks to the team, not me.
It is certainly helpful that now we have a policy we can just hand off to
Right.
potentially interested parties that want to set up operations.
And I also know
And
that
concessions.
that it's not easy to sit up here and take direction from all of us at one time and figure out what you're actually supposed to do with that. And this is something that we all had. Every single one of my colleagues had something to say about this, and you guys did a great job. And that is no easy feat. So just sincerely, thank you.
It
Helps to write it the day after we have the meeting while it's still
I
fresh
mean-
in my head. So.
Support. Yes.
It's great. It's collaborative public policy making with staff and our elected officials. Excellent. Any other questions or comments on this item? No? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, was this... Who? Your item J, okay. I didn't jot down who pulled it. Commissioner Gorman, item J.
All right. I move to authorize staff to contract with Sinclair Recreation in the amount of $34,017.07 using donated funds for the purchase of a Thrive 450 structure from Sinclair Recreation, including installation in Beechwood Park.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Commissioner Emery. Commissioner Gorman.
Hi. Again, quick meeting, but I saw this and was really excited. I want to make sure we pulled it out so our community heard about this very collaborative and exciting project that's going to be accessible to residents and our community. So just want to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, please don't mistake my being here as accepting credit for this. This is something that the Neighborhood Association drove from the beginning, and a few other staff members, including Dave Alexander, had a lot to do with bringing it to this point. But the summary is that the neighborhood organization gathered funds from within themselves and other corporate sponsors and other folks. They received a matching patronicity grant, and they have elected to spend that on a what's called a fitness structure. So the intent really is that this is phase one of a larger fitness plan that they want to put into place, and it looks like a playground at first glance, but it's actually specifically designed to support certain fitness activities. There will be a sign next to the structure telling you how to engage in those activities, the exercises, and so forth. And it is their goal that other parts of this fitness trail that they envision going north from Beechwood Park will come in future years, and they've got additional fund development campaigns planned for that in the future. So.
Awesome. Thank you. I think for so many of us on the bench and in the community that work in health and human services, healthy lifestyles are such a key component to lifelong happiness and longevity. And I'm a big believer that fitness should be free. So I think this is a great step forward to that in our community. So thank you so much to the Beechwood Bluffton Neighborhood Association for your willingness to help in this effort.
Absolutely. Commissioners, any other questions or comments on this item?
What she said.
Yes, indeed. Thank you to our DPW staff as well as to Mr. Alexander for working with the Beechwood Bluff Neighborhood Association, supporting their initiative. And yeah, many thanks to our the good folks of our Beechwood Bluffton neighborhood for launching this initiative and seeing it to fruition and looking to continue to expand it. So that is wonderful. We always love our partnerships across our city. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Roll call.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German.
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman.
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair.
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, Commissioner Ramsey, item K.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I motion to approve the submission of the grant application to the MCACA.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Vice Mayor German, to approve the submission of the grant application to the Michigan Arts and Cultural Council.
Thank you. I just wanted to give Madam Clerk an opportunity to talk about this. I think that anytime we do stuff like this that comes through our offices, we need to be excited and celebrate it. So it's the same thing. Short meeting today. Let's talk about all the great things that are happening and what our city is a part of and how we do our best to help our neighbors improve their quality of life.
Absolutely. Well, this is a grant that we are applying for actually with Carla Flanders. She is the one who oversees our art festival for us. And it's through the Michigan Arts and Cultural for the amount of $2,000 that we're hoping that we can get for the 2023 Lakeshore Art Festival to assist. And, you know, we try to bring new art every time and have a project. And so this will definitely assist with that.
Great. That's all.
Excellent. Commissioners, any other questions or remarks on this item? No? All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Passes.
All right. Commissioners, do we have any other business? No? Manager Mike Sell, could you please provide an update on the Public Safety Director hiring process and the forthcoming open house?
Sure. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that. So we started the process with about 26 candidates. We narrowed that down to 6 for our initial interview. We conducted those via Zoom a week or 2 ago. I've already lost track of time. And so after those initial interviews, we have narrowed down the list further. And so we have 2 candidates that are coming to Muskegon in person to meet with various stakeholder groups. We've got a full day scheduled for them on Thursday this week. And then starting at 5:30 p.m. in this room, Commission Chambers at City Hall, we will have a public meet and greet with both of the candidates. So hopefully we'll get a good turnout and people will come in and talk about Muskegon and learn something about the candidates, and the candidates will learn a little something about Muskegon.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Madam Clerk, would you be so kind as to provide us an update on the elections? We've got an election coming up, primary next week, and can you talk about what your office is doing and your availability of your office and the mobile elections trailer as well?
Absolutely. Well, today was our last day that we took out the mobile trailer. We had 15 stops scheduled this time, so that was pretty exciting. We're actually open right now until 7 p.m., so people can apply for an absentee ballot. We will be open on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. As well, so anybody can come in and get a ballot. They can return their ballot. we're about 55% of return right now. So there's 45% of them out there. We've issued just over 32, going on 3,300 ballots at this time. Yep.
Wonderful. Thanks for that update, and thanks for all the great and hard work that our elections team is doing. The best election team. All right. Anything come to mind, commissioners, for any other business? Commissioner St. Clair?
I'm not sure if this is for public safety or parks, and maybe it's for both. But with the most recent tragedy at Pier Marquette, I've had a lot of people talking about how we keep the beach safe and how we keep people safe from the conditions when they don't understand what the warnings are. And there's been a lot of feedback about, are we flying flags? Is there a light? Where is the light? Can you see it? Should we be doing more? And I'm probably not the only one who's hearing about that and thinking about that, and thought we might have an opportunity to look at that a little.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. It's certainly timely, and I'm sure many of us up here have been hearing questions and feedback from the community. How would you like to weigh in at all, Captain Rush, or Manager Mike Sell, as to, you can at least speak to what our current system is, and then perhaps how best we move forward to explore modifications to that system or additions to that system.
Sure. And Director Evans could also step in if he needs to. Essentially, it is it a park area? From what I talked to him actually this morning in regards to our light system that we do have down there. We do have a light system that is at the bathhouse and as well as the old kite houses, which a lot of us refer to it who have been here as long as some of us have. There is a light system, and it gathers information from the National Weather Service, and what that does is that produces it to the light. We essentially just turn it on at the beginning of the season and then turn it off. Essentially, once snow or the ice comes into Lake Michigan, you're supposed to basically pay attention to the light system. It's supposed to be a little more, I guess, viable for people to see that easier. Sometimes the flags will rip off the poles in bad windstorm days or something like that. But there are some concerns in regards to the flag system. I know it's very common that you'll see in different areas around the United States, but there are also some areas who have removed them because of lawsuits that have come into cities where they were not able to enforce these flags. Some people, depending on where they're at or whether they have any kind of a ordinance system in place, if there's no ordinance system in place and you tell people, please don't go into the water because it's a red flag day, and they do anyway. There are those concerns of being able to manage and essentially to put public safety or parks personnel out there on these. Sometimes these events can go for 24 hours, 7 days a week. We kind of have to rely on kind of common sense on some of this as well. Not by any means to downplay anything that's happened in our recent years or any of the deaths that we've had in Lake Michigan. Some of those, we also have to understand the facts that are behind them. There are a lot of facts that come into those unfortunate circumstances that do happen. Immediately people will jump to the conclusion that it is a drought. It doesn't always come to that. Certainly with Lake Michigan and with the rip currents, the stuff that we do have, it does factor high in the percentages, but sometimes there are other things that come into place on that, and that's have the final results of those and closure for the family. But certainly we're always willing to, and I would think that the parks and both public safety would certainly be willing to try to come up with some new or different ideas. It is a large stretch of beach that we do have here in Lake Michigan, as well as our north side, and a lot of different areas around the United States who have large square footage of beach. Essentially, it is not a small park by any means, but if there's some sort of ideas, we're always willing to look at different ideas to try to put in place we can to help keep our public and especially our visitors safe. That's our biggest thing, is our visitors that come to Muskegon. Those of us that, like I said, who were born and raised here, we kind of have an understanding how Lake Michigan is, and it seems to be a higher percentage of visitors that come here that don't understand how Lake Michigan can be. It might, as it can be to small inland lakes or other of the Great Lakes. So we're certainly willing to work with our community and our visitors to try to come up with some ideas, or willing to look at those together.
Thank you, Captain Rush. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the captain right now?
I don't have questions for Captain Rush. I just have a bunch of thoughts. I want to thank Captain Rush and Commissioner for bringing it up. And I think that it's valid that we talk about keeping our visitors safe, and so of course me making work for everybody. It's just like, well, is there a social media campaign we can launch that says yellow, stop, drop, and roll? So when I was a kid growing up in California, they taught us how to deal with the earthquakes, and it was, you got to hide under a thing, or if you're on fire, you got to stop, drop, and roll, or just say no, or whatever all those things were that they taught us in grade school. Is there something similar that we teach kids about the lake? And if we do, is there something that we can do that translates that into a social media campaign for everyone? Or some sort of imaging that we can use to share locally, so that not only our visitors but our neighbors know how to mitigate the situations that happen at our beautiful lakeshore. Because Mother Nature is formidable, and we will oftentimes lose. So that's all. Just 1,000 thoughts about how to make work for other people, and not trying to.
Yeah.
But I think that it was awesome to think about and to bring up, and how can we from here help to mitigate some of those situations.
Yeah, if we had our forthcoming Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee established already, this is something that we could potentially refer to them to examine and explore how to improve education, or new signage, or more lights, or going to flag,
who
like
held
helping to
that
explore
up?
it and working with staff and bringing it to the commission. But last I knew, we're kind of waiting to get our Parks and Recreation Director established by the end of the year, early next year, and then we'll be launching the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee as part of that, or in tandem with that. So at least we have an opportunity to explore that before next season, if not sooner. Manager Mike Sells over here, maybe have some additional input or guidance.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly that Parks Commission can assist. We do already have, I don't know if it's a county-wide group, but a water safety task force that includes many of the municipalities, the county, townships, Mercy Health, and they meet regularly. They do some campaigns for water safety. I think they were part of the light system that we did implement at Pure Marquette. I know that they also provide boards at various parks that include life jackets that people can borrow, and rings that can be thrown and stuff like that. So there is a group that works on this regularly, and we do have staff that's involved in that.
Okay. Could we, I don't know how often they meet or whatnot, but perhaps there'd be a conversation about unifying at least our lakeshore municipalities in Muskegon County to try to adopt a consistent system across the Lake Michigan shoreline. Director Evans, you have some insights?
I was just going to note the Water Safety Task Force. I believe they meet monthly during the swimming season, so they start, like maybe April with their first meeting, and then they meet monthly. So, and we do participate. We brainstormed today and sent them a couple of topics that we wanted to discuss at the next meeting. Matt, the new parks supervisor, sits on that committee for the city. So,
excellent.
Does PD? Does Jay sit, or I feel like somebody from public safety? Maybe Jeff was on it. So
I think Director Lewis may have been. But I think just to touch on what Commissioner Ramsey was talking, and that's one of our biggest foundations that I think that we have at the City of Muskegon is community partnerships. And that doesn't just mean with our community; it means with our outside communities that come into here to enjoy or any of our parks or anything that we share here at the City of Muskegon. I guess just a side note to how important it is, not only for our public but also for our staff as well. In this, unfortunately, we lost a life. In the last few days due to conditions out there at Lake Michigan. We also had a couple of firefighters who were severely banged up in these things, and we don't want to have to put our staff through that as well. So I guess to show on both sides of it, to be transparent for both our community and our employees, our staff here at the City of Muskegon, that we want to be safe for everybody. We don't want to have to put our public safety personnel into those situations where they have to fend off Mother Nature, because she can be pretty brutal sometimes, and Lake Michigan can be very unforgiving. So Commissioner Ramsey saying it's a community partnership for all of us.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Any other questions or remarks on this item right now? Are there any other items to bring up for any other business? No? All right. And we are going to go to public comment, and I see a comment form arriving just in time. If there's anyone else that wishes to give public comment, there are forms in the back room, and you can fill out and provide to our city clerk down there. Yep. And we've got Mr. Randy Vanderwhite from our McLaughlin neighborhood.
Yes, good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. Randy Vanderwhite, 1577 Clinton Street. And after one of the recent drownings that did happen at the lake, I had seen on TV something 3Fs, so I had to look up because I forgot it already. So a media campaign I think is great. Flip, float, and follow is what they're saying. And that's something that the Great Lakes Surf Rescue Project is promoting right now. It's a new campaign. But that's not why I'm up here. What I did want to speak about is just, I know that you as a commission, mayor, and city manager are really interested in affordable housing at this point in time, as am I, and others that I'm connected with. I know that Muskegon stands in line to receive some funding from the settlement that was brought against the Fannie Mae Corporation. And with that, I know there's a survey out right now asking people for some input. It talks about what might you do with 5,000, but I guess I'd like to maybe challenge the city to consider reinstating something like we had a number of years ago, NIC, Neighborhood Investment Corporation. My understanding is you need to first fund it before the government or another entity will fund it for long term. So this might be a great opportunity for us to get some seed money to be able to reestablish something locally to help people with mortgage payments and other kind of neighborhood projects. You know, often what's offered through community neighborhood services, you have to be less than 80% AMI or something like that. I don't remember it all. So there's some people who are making just a little bit too much, but yet can't do some of the improvements on their homes that they like. So I guess I just want to challenge community neighborhood services and all of you in our efforts to really seek to create affordable housing and home ownership for people that we might consider using the sum of money that's coming in a larger way rather than just a little bit here or there. So thank you.
All right. Thank you for sharing. And I see our manager, Mike Sell, had taken some notes with regard to your comment and suggestion. All right, next up we have Kevin Wright joining us from Twin Lake, speaking on Fisherman's Landing. Welcome.
I just wanted to stop in. I know, Ken, at one point you come down. Willie, I think you come down. We'd love to have the commissioners stop in the Fisherman's Landing and kind of see what it is, see what it's all about. We just added a new kayak launch that's been getting used constantly. But it's just an invite to stop down and see us at some point and see what it is. It's having the best year it's ever had. So,
can you elaborate on that kayak launch? I saw it. It's great. It certainly seems more accessible than other ones that might have been up there in the past on our lake shore.
Yep. We worked for a long time to try to get to one down by Heritage Landing, but that was a grant process from Alcoa. So it is much better just to sit there in the water, unusable. So Leo helped point us in direction. Camper funds is what's paid for it. We do have some extra steps that we need to take because they're a lot more expensive than I thought they were. The handicap bench to go on it, which we're hoping to add next year, $7,500 just for the bench. It's fully accessible. They can drive right to it. It's not a long walk. It's been a nice little addition. The West Michigan Kayak Association has really put it on their front page because it's so accessible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I haven't had a chance to use it myself, but I want to this season. So,
yeah, and it's off to the side, so it doesn't affect the boaters. There's still 7 other boat launch slips there for them to use. It's been a good thing.
Gotcha. And we still have our Watch Us Go boating, kayaks, and other boats.
Laura's been out there quite a few times with the kids, and they pull the kayaks up on the grass and learn how to do it before they go in the water, and it's been good.
Yeah.
We just added share a life jacket, so we have one of those down there now, to where if somebody comes in with a boat, doesn't have one, they can borrow it, put it back when they're done. So a lot of good things happening down there. We haven't had an opening on a weekend since the second week in May. We're on average turning away 20 to 30 campers a weekend.
Excellent. Great season.
Great season. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right. Beanie Coleman joining us from the Jackson Hill neighborhood. Welcome. You have up to 3 minutes to provide remarks. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I just have one comment.
Oh, yes.
It's about the lights that are on the building. Are they just on the building and building alone? Or are they all placed throughout Pierre Marquette?
Oh, those lights. There's
Yeah.
a light on the main bathhouse and concession stand, and then there's a light at the McKite building towards the filtration plant.
Because I know this is hindsight, and hindsight is always 20/20. That big lifesaver sculpture you guys have, it would have been neat to turn that into, because everybody has to pass through it. And if it's yellow, then they know they can't get their butt in the water. If it's green, go swim. Functionality. So next time y'all put something down there, make it functional. That's it, that's all.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't too mean.
Very form and function. All right. Thanks so much, Vina. Good to see you. Anyone else in the audience wish to give remarks for public comment? No? Seeing none. Commissioners, would you like to adjourn?
Amen.
Is that a motion?
Yes. Motion to adjourn.
All right. Got a motion by Commissioner Emery, supported by
Support.
Commissioner Ramsey to adjourn. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Take care. Be well.